it's not going to hurt the public schools. It's going to force the public schools to improve. So you don't need the unions to make them improve. The parents will force them to improve because you've got to police the customer.
Most of the advocates for school choice are religious individuals. And in fact, a large proportion of the people who have said that school choice would be effective are those who are having problems trying to keep their religious institutions intact.
Sure.
Is that true?
Well, I don't know the advocates. I mean, some statistics show that most parents would like to have choice in education. I'm sure most of the statistics that I've heard that that's what a person wants. Well, why not? I mean, if you've got a kid in school and you could send them to a better school, that's something that most parents would want, unless they are, indoctrinated to some way of thinking that you're going to hurt the unions or that's going to hurt public schools. I mean, the opposition claims that this is going to destroy the public schools. That's the bottom line argument, which is utterly ridiculous. I mean, by instituting choice, by giving people the opportunity to take their business elsewhere, you're going to make the public schools worse. They're going to improve. They have to improve. In fact, Milwaukee, which is the first place to get vouchers, and that was back in 1990. There are, as you know, there's groups from all over the country going to Milwaukee. The former mayor, a fellow by the name of Norquist, I forget his first name, he was at first opposed to vouchers, as most people were over there and all over. And it finally got through. He's going around the country speaking about what happened to Milwaukee, not just the schools, the whole city is improved. He says people are moving in from all other places to come to Milwaukee because of the school vouchers. It improves not only with, see, education is the builder of society. Mm-hmm. Whatever's tomorrow starts with education today. Everything begins with a good quality education for a child reduces by tremendous amount the possibility of him getting involved in crime, for example. Now, could you imagine the cost of crime? That comes from a poor education in many cases. Not in all, but in many.
Well, we're here with Rabbi Israel Teitelbaum, who has a book that's out, The Case for School Choice, which pretty much, I guess, outlines the relationship of what is the effect that would happen in regard to if a real positive plan was put into effect. Now, you have advocated that it's a civil rights movement.
Right. Right. There's a very big problem in the way it's being fought now. There's been little successes incrementally, but when you think about it, we really need to go a step further. It really is a civil rights issue. It's not just an educational issue. And when you talk about civil rights, the states don't respect civil rights necessarily. It's the Constitution of the United States where civil rights extends from. If you read the Constitution, read the Declaration of Independence, just the first few paragraphs. Read the United States Constitution, the preamble, just the paragraph, and you read the First Amendment, you see that civil rights stems from the United States Constitution. In fact, all the civil rights laws we have today, we respect equal opportunity in housing, employment, education. No, not education, I'm sorry. Housing, no education, only in public schools. You have to have equal treatment. But if you go to a different school, you don't get equal treatment. You don't get the education paid for, even though you pay it in your taxes, because everybody pays this. If you live in a home, you're paying educational taxes, even if you're not paying any income taxes.
Right.
But if you live in a house,
and that's in a sense unfair too. That only homeowners are the ones that.
No, renters pay it too.
Renters?
Yeah, because when you pay your rent, so the owner of the home is paying that, and he's passing it on to you. So everyone pays. The only ones who don't pay for education are the ones living on the street.
Okay.
They're the only ones. So everyone pays for it. Right. But if you don't go to public school and you send your kid to religious school or private school, you're being discriminated against. So this has to be fixed. That's the kind of discrimination that should not exist. Right. According to the way I read the Constitution.
And there's no fairness there.
It's not only no fairness, it's taking away your freedom.
Your rights.
Your freedom to raise your child without the government interfering. Right. When the government takes your money, they're interfering. that's the way
And
to
they're
control
not using
people.
it to be able to give you what you're putting the money in there for the
Well,
investment of it.
well, the whole country was founded for freedom, freedom of individual choice, freedom of religion, and that's why the Revolutionary War was fought, for freedom, for liberty. And you don't have liberty, you don't have freedom if you cannot raise your children in the best way. That's the best way for them.
Now, are you affluent enough that, are you wealthy?
No,
No?
not at all. No.
Why are you interested in this? So why are you so passionately interested in it? Because it's only poor people that really are the ones that are being affected by
I am
it.
poor. Poor. I thank God for everything I have. I have what to eat, and I have a place. I don't live on the street, and I live hand to mouth. I cannot keep up with all my bills, but that's what we all have in common. There's very, very few, percentage-wise, of people that are affluent in the country. On the other hand, there are very, very few people who are going without food and without a home, and a lot of people have TVs mostly. So, in a certain way, we're all kind of affluent, even when we're poor in America. That is the nature of America, that we are a very, very wonderful, fortunate country. The only thing that's really, really wrong with our society that I could see, and it affects a lot of things, is the education. The fact that they've taken away our freedom of education has negatively affected society in many ways. One of the things you have is what you pointed out before, the segregation that you have in the communities. That's directly related to education. You have a lot of leftist kind of movements happening in America. Where does it start from? It starts in education. Instead of the parents training the children in matters of culture, should come from the family. That's what culture, that's what society builds, from the family. When you have a good family, everything starts with a good family. When the government starts interfering with the family, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a very simple example. This was not an inner city. This was at a nice suburban school where I live. A mother tells me, she's a European mother, she's very disciplined, she raises a kid very, very well, and she sees her teenage daughter is really not doing well in school, not studying, hanging out with the wrong crowds, really, really getting to a messy situation, not progressing. So she goes and she speaks to the school counselor. And the school counselor tells her that she should lay off of her kid and just let the kid go. Just, you're interfering with the kid. This is the mentality. Instead of trying to improve the situation so the kid starts to learn better and not hanging out with the wrong crowds and doing all kinds of stuff. Well, guess what? The same counselor tells the daughter that her mother is crazy and she doesn't have to listen. And she doesn't. Some months later, she runs away with a guy from school, runs away from home, has a baby. 6 months later, the guy leaves her and she comes running home. I spoke to this girl. She started to realize how the school had destroyed her life.
Really?
When you have
That in the sense that the influence of the educational system caused her to rebel?
Well, when the mother tried to get the school to help, to put the kid on the right track, the counselor at the school told the child that her mother is crazy, and she lost all kind of control, all kind of influence over her daughter.
I see.
Now, I know of this, and I know of, some small,
Other examples, yeah.
The little things like this. Little things. I mean, you're just
Yeah,
talking about
it's
destroyed
huge,
families.
yeah, you're right.
But that's not the point. It's the moment when you take your child and walk them into a school.
Right.
If it's the parent that has the choice, then you have your freedom, then you can educate your child according to your conscience. That's how it should be in a free country. The United Nations has the doctrine, of how countries should conduct themselves. It says right there, there should be parental choice. It's written right into the United Nations Charter. And we are supposed to be the freest country on earth, and we don't have that.
From the discriminative point of view, apparently, again, individuals